This is Digital Soul,
Hey, it's your boy Big Reub.
and we are the Purple Brothas.
All right, everybody, on this edition of the Purple Brothers, we're getting to our first single, a single that's going to be on this album I've been waiting on forever. It's the Sign of the Times Deluxe. It's coming out in September, y'all. And one of the uncut gems on this piece is called Witness for the Prosecution. And we've been blessed not only with one version, we're going to have two versions on the Sign of the Times Deluxe. And just in case you're not aware of the song, check version 1 out a little bit right now.
I am a witness. Both motherfucker.
Prosecution. I think that was funky, right? All right. Here's a little bit of version 2 of Witness for the Prosecution.
I am a witness for the prosecution of a heinous love affair. I am guilty.
So we're going to get into our favorite versions. So this song came out, basically it was recorded in March of 1986 with Wendy and Lisa and Susanna, Eric Leeds. And you can tell with the instrumentation, you know, he had the Revolution with him. And because it's more of a rocky version. He went and re-recorded it the same year in April, a totally different vibe. So we're going to discuss both versions. So Digital Soul, what do you feel, or how do you feel about the versions that you have? Which one is your favorite?
I actually dug version 1, man. The first version that he did with Susanna, Wendy, Lisa. Always have, man. One of the most unusual things about this version is the rock edge that it has to it. And around that time, I could see it being fit on the so-called inclusion of the Dream Factory album, which was initially what it was supposed to, or Dream Factory, correct, album that it was supposed to be initially on. But once that got, I guess, shuffled down to the Sign of the Times album, I can see probably why he didn't release it, because, you know, even after that, you know, the focus after Sign of the Times was more of conceptual albums, like Love Sexy was conceptual, Love, you know, versus, you know, Hate, Good versus Evil, you know, that whole thing. And then, you know, of course, we had the Black album to counterpart that. Graffiti Bridge kind of expanded on that, you know, love, you know, for one another, that whole deal. So most of his albums actually after that were all conceptual. So I kind of can see where Witness for the Prosecution may have never been able to fit in to his later work. But for the Dream Factory, years later, hearing different snippets of songs that came out that were supposed to be on that album, I could see that it would have been a perfect fit because of the whole vibe and the whole inclusion of the girls. You know, the girls were a major part of the Dream Factory work. So version 1, I actually first heard it in 1990. I actually have here, I don't know if you can see this here, but I actually have here a Crystal Ball bootleg of the album, which came out initially in 1990. Wow. I mean, here's, yeah, and then on this, when I bought it in 1990, years and years ago, it actually has both versions. So I actually heard it then. And I'm just want to read off the track list on this to kind of give you guys an idea of what was on this. Initially, it was Crystal Ball. And then and there's supposed to be, this is supposed to be a duet or a compilation with, collaboration rather, with Miles Davis, which is called Miles Ahead. Power Fantastic, which actually later came out initially on the B-sides on that 3-disc set later in 1993. That was on here, so I heard that year prior. Heartbreaker, and then Witness, and it's in parentheses, yet another one. And then also Movie Stars on this, A Place in Heaven, Wonderful Ass is on this as well, before it just came out on
Purple Rain.
The Purple Rain Deluxe edition, right? And then there's a second inclusion of Witness Again, but in parentheses, it's called Not Again. And then the last song on here is called Funk We Can, which initially became We Can Funk on Graffiti Bridge. So this was a cool disc that I bought back in 1990. It was, of course, like I said, it was one of those unofficial releases. But both of the Witness for the Prosecution versions were on there. So hearing it on there was like a really good treat because, of course, it was bad quality. But, being the Prince lovers that we are, we accept that because we have something that a lot of people don't have. We have some music that, a lot of people are not going to ever hear at that time when we're buying them. So it was kind of a treat to be listening to these really bad recordings for some reason and just trying to figure out, what he was saying and so forth. Because the recording was kind of bad on this version 1 on this disc. That I always thought he was saying Witness for the motherfucking Prosecution, but that's not what he said. So that's what it sounded like. So now that I'm hearing the new version, the engineered version that's coming up on the Sign of the Times compilation CD here, man, it sounds so good, man. I just love the rock edge to it, the tambourines, the girls yelling out the chant Witness for the Prosecution real loud. And I like the ending where he says, guilty. Take them away, So I like all that whole thing. How he says that whole chord thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I like the first version. I loved it when I first heard it, from the intro, the drums. I'm a Witness for the Prosecution. I love the funky bass. You listen to the bass line.
Yeah.
The bass line is really, really funky. So that's what made me gravitate to it. And I love the rock edge to the song. The lyrics is crazy, just a Witness for the Prosecution, having a hate in this love affair. I thought that was pretty dope, so I was just wondering, why I think this particular song was just so dope. I could see it, I could actually see it being on Sign of the Times. I think it could have replaced something on Sign of the Times in '87. But I'm just wondering, like, this is one of those uncut gems. How come he never really played it live? You never really heard it. You never really played it, even in that era when he was doing shows. He never played it. There was some interludes of Rock Hard in a Funky Place in the Sign of the Times movie, with where Eric leads and Alana Bliss, but it was like he should have put this out back then, man. It's just one of those funky records that just never saw the light of day until now, some 30-something odd years later. So I'm with you as far as version 1. Now version 2, to me, it's cool, but it's not my favorite because I think he kind of watered it down with it was more electronic, it was kind of reminiscent to me of that time when, even on Sign of the Times, when you had it and the electronic feel you had it with that song. Sign of the Times was more electronic. Even Ballad of Dorothy Parker, it had that kind of vibe to me, but it was still cool. But it was more of, he took out all the guitar element, even though you hear a little bit of it, but he took all that out and was just more, I guess, in his way, more funk driven with the beat. But it was a few little changes here lyrically too. When he said, like, send me to death row and all these different things that toward the bridge of the song. But it was cool. It's just I prefer the first version of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Version 2 is good. You know, it's good too. But I've always, even on you know, when I've heard it on this disc that I bought years prior, I always liked the first version as opposed to the second version. Second version sounds the way it does because it was initially supposed to go to a young lady named Deborah Allen, who was also a singer. It was at one point going to be offered to her to sing. And one of the differences, I don't know if you noticed, Prince's voice is also at a higher pitch in that version too. So it almost sounds like it could be a Camille song, but but it's actually not. But if you could tell, like if you really, you know, if people that really listen to Prince, they can actually tell when Prince actually speeds his voice up, and when he, you know, when he's singing in his natural voice. Where you can tell version 1, he's in his natural voice, but version 2, you can kind of tell that pitch on his voice is a little sped up. Like it could have went to be a Camille song, or it could have went to the young lady it was supposed to initially go to, which was Deborah Allen. So that was the reason why it sounds the way it does. Very sparse, and it almost sounds like maybe it was a woman singing it, you know, in that sense. And also, I want to mention the inclusion of him saying electric chair a couple of times in this version too. It's the first time we actually hear him talk about that. Yeah, so that's kind of odd too. That, you know, even him saying it, I think a couple of times in this version, he actually, you know, makes a song, you know, a couple of years down the line for Batman titled Electric Chair. So that's kind of, you know, kind of a cool little twist too to it.
Yeah, and Electric Chair is one of my favorite songs on Batman.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's a bad song, man.
It's a bad song, man. I just love I love the chorus of the song. So, but we'll talk about Batman at another time because it's coming real soon.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's kind of weird. I never, you know, like I said, I don't know where he would have included this on later projects, but it's one of those rare sides of Prince because you very rarely hear him sing or talk about like court dealings. I think the only other song I can think of right offhand is "I Hate You," where he kind of plays out a court scenario in the song where you know, he says "Your Honor." That's the only song I can kind of think of right offhand where it's kind of where he kind of portrays a court scenario, you know, besides his song. So it's kind of a different twist or a different turn for him as far as approaching that subject.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, you didn't really get that too much. So it's a dope record. I wish, you know, I kind of wonder and like, what would Dream Factory actually really sounded like if it would have came out when it's supposed to? You know what I mean?
I think it would have been a ridiculous album. I wish it had just came to light and hit us, because it was, I mean, all the gems that we've been hearing during the course of these last 30 years that were supposed to be on that album and the shit that was on Sign of the Times, you can just tell that it was just going to be like, maybe like Emancipation before Emancipation came out. That's what it was going to be, the Emancipation of the 80s, basically.
Right, yeah. It would have been really, really a good record.
Yeah.
They have configurations like you can see on like YouTube, wherever. They have their computer configurations of the album, but you never know those, you know, those songs was going to be really for the Dream Factory. But you know, we were blessed to hear a lot of the stuff that's on Crystal Ball, and now we got, man, Sign of the Times coming out September. You talking about 63 unreleased songs? Man, I ain't listening to nothing else for a while.
That's gonna take up the rest of the winter.
I mean, it's gonna be so dope. So I'm looking forward to hearing what else that, you know, especially we talked about Camille, Rebirth of the Flesh. We finally hear a clean version of Rebirth of the Flesh. You know, I think for me, I think I would just have my own playlist, nothing but Camille songs that was supposed to be on a Camille record. I would just make my own album. Like, this was supposed to be Camille. But hey, it is what it is. So with that being said, hey, We thank you for watching another episode of the Purple Brothers. You know, if you like what you see, tell a friend, subscribe to the channel, and more content coming soon.
Real soon. Stay tuned. We welcome y'all. Keep joining us and following us.
Yeah, Purple Brothers, baby. We here.
Salute. Peace.
Later.